Ineffective genetic drugs to fuel rare public anger in China. Public anger in China over concerns raised by doctors that genetic drugs used in public hospitals are increasingly ineffective has led to a rare response from the government. Doctors say they believe the country's drug procurement system, which incentivized the use of cheap genetic drugs over original brand name pharmaceuticals has led to a cost being cut at the expense of people's safety. But officials quoted by multiple state media outlets on Sunday say the issue is one of the perception rather than reality. One report said different people simply had different reactions to medicines that claims about them being ineffective had mostly come from people's anecdote, anecdote and subjective feelings. The official response has done little to allay public fears over the reputation of drugs in public hospitals and pharmacies. It is latest challenge to a healthcare system that is already under enormous strain because of the rapidly aging population. How did it all begin? The debate surrounding the use of generic drugs began in December when authorities announced the list of the nearly 200 companies that had won contracts to sell medicines to Chinese state hospitals. Almost all are domestic makers of generic pharmaceuticals. They intensified in January when, in a video interview that went viral, the director of the hospital department in Shanghai shared his concerns about the drug procurement system. Zhang Minhua cited antibiotics that cause allergies, blood pressure that won't go down, uh, anesthetized patient who won't sleep, and laxatives that did not clear the bowel, which as being among the issues that have been encountered. Dr. Zhang's word immediately struck the chord and have been condensed into a social media slogan that has been viewed by millions in the past months, though much of the discussion of the topic has since been censored on Weibo. Many people have come forward to share their own bad experiences with the alleged substandard drugs. I underwent intestinal surgery in 2024, which required me to consume laxatives beforehand, one Weibo user wrote. They said the drugs they are given had no effect whatsoever, even after the dose was doubled, and that they had to turn to drinking coffee to help clear their boil. The majority of drugs in public hospitals and pharmacies are stocked through the procurement process. The concerns raised over the efficacy of generic drugs has caused distrust and made some people unwilling to use them. People on Xiaohongshu, China's Instagram-like app, said that when hospital doctors prescribed them the generic version of the antibiotic, they immediately went online to buy the original, real one, since the generic version tasted different. There have been many people catching colds recently. A lot of them might have bought this drug. Quickly send reminders to your friends now and get them to check the brand before buying, the user warned. Some of the most popular posts discussing the procurement controversy have been taken down, though it is unclear by whom. China's heavily monitored internet has the strong culture of censorship by both authorities and users themselves. In a scathing, many removed the post by popular podcast host Meng Chang. He lambasted the lack of imported drugs in the public sector. If this isn't a bottom line, I don't know what is. Public anger has also been focused on the difficulties of assessing imported drugs that people believe to be of better quality. In a response to authorities' attempts to reassure people of the quality of genetic drugs, the on Weibo user wrote, "As long as we are allowed to buy brand name drugs ourselves, I have no other complaint." How does the drug procurement system work? It was introduced in 2018 as a way to lower state impen, expenditure on medicines and involves the local government putting out tender processes for around 70% of state hospitals' annual drug requirement. Various drug manufacturers then compete to offer the lowest prices for drugs to win these lucrative contract. This gives the advantage to domestically produced genetic drugs, which contain the same active pharmaceutical ingredient as the original patent drugs, but are often several times cheaper to make as they do not include the high cost of the research and development. China has emerged as one of the world's largest players in the global genetic pharmaceutical market, exporting both the finished product to consumers abroad and key ingredient to foreign companies. At home, thousands of genetic drug manufacturers compete to sell their product at competitive prices in the expanding domestic market. For genetic medicines to be eligible for China's procurement process, they have to be tested and determined to be similar enough to the brand name version of the drug. Beijing has credited the drug's procurement system with saving billions of residents more than $50 billion, 40 billion pounds in each first 5 years. But the procurement process has seen some drug manufacturers offer medicines at incredibly lower prices. One of the winning bees last December was the aspirin tablet, selling for less than a cent, or drug tablets that cost less than 1 cent eatable became a trending topic on Weibo at the time. The manufacturers that win the bid often set prices so low that they may struggle to produce high quality drugs with the correct ingredient, potentially leading to ineffective medications. Stacy Zhang, associate professor at NYU Langone Health, told the BBC. She added that while the procurement system was not designed to restrict access to imported brand name drugs, it may still have affected their accessibility. Questions over data and efficacy. A proposal submitted by 20 doctors, including Dr. Zhang, to Shanghai authorities last month stated that there are widespread concerns in the industry that procurement prices are too low, prompting unethical companies to cut corners to reduce the cost, affecting the efficacy of the drugs. Doctors are helpless because they have no choice and there is no channel to escalate feedback. A recent article by Xia Jimin, a doctor in Hangzhou, has added to scrutiny. In it, he highlighted what he said was questionable data from the trials of genetic drugs on the procurement list. It was identical to the data from the original drug on which it was based. Dr. Shah suggested that it could be evidence of fraud. The National Medical Product Administration responded by saying his findings were due to an editorial error. His article has since been removed. Adding to quality concerns are counterfeit drugs, which have seeped into both the generic and brand name drugs market across the world and are notoriously difficult to detect. The World Health Organization has described this a global health problem. To enhance affordability, the introduction of cost-effective genetics is essential. Kevin Liu, associate professor at the University of South Carolina's College of Pharmacy, told the BBC. He added that the procurement process needed strengthened quality control and continued improvement in drug approval and manufacturing standards. A sector in crisis. A controversy comes at a time when China's healthcare system is already under mounting pressure. A rapidly aging population has meant that country's total health expenditure has increased nearly 20-fold over the last 20 years, reaching 9 trillion yuan, $1.25 trillion in 2023. Across the country, public medical insurance funds are running thin. Deficits have already appeared in some provinces, where local government that had relied heavily on land sales of land sales for revenue are now struggling with debt as the real estate crisis engulfs China's economy. At the same time, the healthcare system has been experiencing a trust crisis. Violent attacks against the medical staff have risen since the 2000s, fueled by anger at the lack of resources and erosion of faith in doctors. Unlike issues that have been deemed politically sensitive and heavily censored by authorities, such as the prosecution of political dissident or the suppression of the Uyghur in Xinjiang. The ongoing controversy surrounding the procurement of drugs has at least been acknowledged by the state as the problem to be tackled. The National Healthcare Security Administration said in a statement on 19 January that authorities attached great importance to these safety concerns and would seek feedback on the drug procurement policy. It is undeniable that the national centralized procurement is still in its infancy. There are many pharmaceutical companies with varying production quality. State media Lifetimes quoted a public care scholar as saying, other experts cited in the article called for drug evaluation standards to be improved. As authorities try to remedy the procurement system's faltering image, all the scrutiny is now overshadowing a system designed to be win-win, saving lives and also saving money. As one Weibo user argued, the savings from lower drug prices are but a drop in a bucket of China's national healthcare cost. On the other hand, they wrote allowing potentially defective drugs to be widely used is akin to drinking poison to quench thirst.